As the soft melodic guitar strings start to fill in the void of silence in my AirPods, I look out the window of my family's car, a GMC Acadia, to see the sun begin to set as we hit the road to Florida, our annual Disney trip. As the opening chords play, I continue to stare out the window, and then I hear the first verse. Weathered and faded, who feels alone in the world? You do. Too complicated, it's not the same anymore. You're through. As I took in these words, the air started to leave my lungs and tears started to swell my face. The guitars and the synths got louder while distortion and reverb were being added to the mix, which caused all my thoughts to vanish. As the song continued, so did the singing. Pick up the pieces, finding a place in the world to be. As the tears continue to stream down my face, my father drives into the sunset. I look down at my phone and then at the song title, and I read, Only Friend. I was only on the first song and I was already intrigued for more. Now, you may be wondering, what album am I referring to when I'm talking about all of this, and what caused me to have such a dramatic reaction, one might say. And that would be their debut studio album, Nothing Happens, by indie pop band Wallows, an album with only 11 tracks that spans over the course of 39 minutes, deeply explores the growing pains of adolescence, the fear of growing up, and the loss of innocence that follows.
A lot of the themes on Nothing Happens, the lyrical themes, have to do with loss of innocence and youth and growing up and leaving things behind.
And I like to think that the whole message about the song, like feeling as though you're less than somebody else or less than something or someone or whatever, self-doubt. I like to think that that message was just very natural because at that time we weren't finished recording. It was our first album. We were very insecure and it was a challenge that we had to overcome.
Throughout the album, the songs touch upon themes of relationships, friendships, and just a lot of existential worries, dread, and all that jazz that is sonically hidden behind this rough, angsty teen facade, but quietly shows up within the more emotional lyrics of the album. I sometimes struggle with how I articulate my thoughts and feelings. Often there is a gap between what I am thinking and what I actually say. However, this album seemed to just read my mind. It echoed a lot of the experiences I was going through and the emotions behind them. Personally, this album helped me navigate hardships within my friendships, relationships, my mental health, and dare I say, freshman year of high school, which is just a scary time for anyone and everyone. Just as reading and learning gave tongue to interesting thoughts which had frequently flashed through Frederick Douglass's mind in learning how to read and how they were able to utter his thoughts, hearing the guitars, drums, synths, and more all mixed and layered with emotional lyrics and strong vocals gave way to start uttering my own thoughts. This album gave me an avenue to become more open and vulnerable with myself, and the second that happened, I was able to express myself in a way I hadn't been able to before, especially with my mental health journey. Listening to the album for the first time reflected a lot of what I was feeling and thinking in the moment. I felt very alone and isolated until this album came into my life. There were a lot of emotions and feelings I was dealing with on my own, but this album made me realize I'm not alone and made a misunderstood kid less misunderstood. I mean, Wallows has stated themselves, even while promoting this album, the overall theme of this album, they've stated that the case is... Can I speak? That this is the case here, really, and a lot of these themes naturally come from loss of innocence and moving into adulthood and the experience and fears and excitement and all that comes with that. We all go through it, and it's something that we've gone through and we're still going through, so that's definitely the overarching theme on the record. Speaking of the record, let's actually get into it. The second song on the album is called Treacherous Doctor, and compared to Only Friend, it's a complete 180, starts very abruptly, and doesn't follow the same structure as the other songs on the album.
Now, cut to a couple months later, I don't know how long later, but Braden sends us this demo that he made just through GarageBand on his laptop. It sounds so shitty, no offense to Braden. But he just sent through this fully instrumental track that he called Treacherous Doctor, and I remember listening to it and being like, this makes no sense. Like, I'm listening to this and there's not really a structure. the chord progression. There's like 12 chords on the first verse. I don't know what's going on. The timing on the bridge and kick in, going in and out of it, I couldn't make any sense of it. And that's kind of what I loved about it. And ultimately, what Braden sent through as the music actually is still exactly what the blueprint and instrumental is of Treacherous Doctor now. And later, we did the whole process of writing the lyrics and the melodies, and we went through that whole thing when we were recording it. But
when listening to the song for the first time, it reminded me of going to therapy or just sitting in a therapy session, which is something I was newly discovering at the time and something that was very new to me as well. Around the same time I was discovering this album, I was heavily struggling with my mental health and was constantly questioning what's wrong with me and will I be okay. The opening verse of the song starts with, "Could I trust you with my thoughts, or would you use them all against me? Can you replace my eyes for yours? See what I really look like? I could help you criticize." When you as an individual are already questioning what's wrong with yourself, when you don't even know what's happening inside your own head, it can feel really isolating. I should know, I have been there. And hearing those similar statements that were floating around in my head echoed back to me, sent just a wave of relief over me, knowing I wasn't alone in the process and just wasn't alone in general. As the song continues, more and more lyrics stick out to me, especially "Are the things I think are important simply just distractions from death?" Like, damn. Now, as someone who has a weird and strange relationship with accepting that death is inevitable, but is also very scared of it, but is also one of the very things that makes us human, this lyric hits close to home. The more I listened to the song and the rest of the album, the more I kept thinking about where Wallace hid the camera in my room, because almost every single lyric resonated with me one way or another. It honestly felt like I was just listening to my thoughts coming through a different radio channel.
This next track, the final track on the album, Do Not Wait, it's the most emotional track on the album. It's one of our most ambitious tracks, I feel like, that we've recorded so far, and we kind of wanted it to be that way, and to be a nice fit to the album and a nice ending to the album, and a very emotional one. And that song has always kind of meant a lot to us.
One of the most impactful songs off Nothing Happens is the album's closing track called Do Not Wait. A track that is very raw, vulnerable, and honest, and wraps all these overarching themes of adolescence and loss of innocence into the perfect ending. The chorus echoes the lyrics, "Do not wait, do not wait, do not wait. I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there." Just repeating itself over and over till the bridge. The repetition of this phrase in the chorus is reminiscent of something you would tell a loved one or a friend. Don't wait for me, I'll catch up. It's almost like you're affirming someone you'll be back, or you'll see them again sometime in the future when the present is uncertain. As the drums pick up and the bridge begins, the most honest lyrics off the album start to fill the air, saying things like, "The first time is humiliating. Your parents will eventually separate. Your parents will end up where they belong," and more. All of these are focusing on more adult topics compared to what was heard earlier. Following these more adult topics are statements that echo the idea of the chorus, saying, "And as you go on and shit gets hard, don't worry about me. And when shit gets hard, don't worry about me." Which really cements the theme of growing up and losing your innocence. Because as you grow up, you start telling others not to worry about yourself as much as you would if you were younger. As the bridge of the song comes to a close, the song ends with loud trumpets, hard drums, a hard chorus, or hard chords, I mean, but it also ends where we started.
And we also knew very early on that we wanted to end the album, so we knew we wanted Only Friend to open it and Do Not Wait to close it.
The end of Do Not Wait loops right back into the first song, Only Friend. And every song on the album, Nothing Happens, is connected and goes into the next song very seamlessly, making it a gapless playback.
Okay, so as you can probably tell, the last track, Only Friend, ended pretty abruptly, right? And that's very intentional on our part because we spent a lot of time making sure that all the transitions on the record flowed pretty seamlessly. And we wanted as much as possible to make sure that there was never really a full break or stop in sound, that there was always something you could hear. I think in the middle we break that up a little bit later in the album, but anyway.
Although the music represents a chapter in their lives and in mine, I always keep coming back to this album at different points in my life. This album found me when I needed it the most, and it still seems to find me throughout the different chapters of my life, which in itself is very symbolic when you think of how the album was arranged. Yes, the album has an ending, but does it really? On Paper, Do Not Wait is the official ending track of the album. However, I do not see this track as an end. I merely see it as a means to start transitioning into the next period of your life. Whether that's adulthood, adolescence, post-grad, whatever it is. It's the reason so many others and I keep finding our way back to this album. I still remember how it felt the first time listening to it, and I'm sure the next time won't be my last. Thanks for listening.